Hey, and we're back. Thank you for joining. This is the Conscious Outlet Podcast. So make sure you like for the algorithm, okay? We want to keep making this content for you. I'm Mirakle, Monique.
And I'm Alan J again.
Thank you for joining. We're going to be discussing something really interesting. It came from a book that I only ever know about. I only ever knew about from like the past. I remember randomly seeing this book on a teacher's desk like in pre-K or kindergarten. And we're going to be discussing the differences between men and women and how that can really impact the way we see each other, okay? More specifically, men are from Mars and women are from Venus, okay?
And that is the truth.
Is it?
Yes, because we, men and women, of course, we actually have different communication styles. We have different emotional needs. We have different ways of approaching things. And so I think that is the whole reason of that phrase, is because, of course, from your feminine energy, you need certain things. And from my masculine energy, I need certain things. And when we come together, we can make something happen. But a lot of times we try to maybe force or put our own projections of what you think how I need to be loved on a person. And that right there causes you basically everything repelling. And I think that happens a lot in relationships on why people argue so much is because you're not truly seeing me for me, and it's affecting like the relationship. And so when you truly don't see a person for themselves, and you are using maybe what you have gone through in the past, whether it's from a relationship or whether it's from your first heartbreak from a family member or whatever, or your dad or your mom. So a lot of those things actually end up affecting how we deal with each other and why we're trying to love each other or whatever. Because I truly believe that love can actually grow stronger, as time goes along. But I think we're hard-headed as hell, to be honest.
Why do you think that?
I think I'm not gonna lie, that's something that I'm gonna have to get back with you on there, because it's so many different ways that you can actually approach that on, like, why. A lot of times, I don't think that after a while of being with maybe one person, I think over time, resentment end up growing somewhere, and you don't know, because you haven't actually been communicating. You're just been, I would say, hovering around in that person's, space. Like, yes, talking is a good thing, but communication is actually that. It's actually giving and receiving. That's what true communication is, people. It's giving and receiving. Yeah. So I'm receiving what you're taking in, and I'm taking it, and I can regurgitate that back in actions, in my thoughtfulness, in a bunch of different ways. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I see what you're saying. Do you think there are any examples of that in Love Jones, like with Nina and Darius?
Examples of them repelling against each other?
Yeah, of them kind of like not being receptive to each other, so it's essentially like repelling each other. Yeah.
I guess when they were sitting on the couch, and she was like, "So you don't want to know what me and Wood did?" He was like, "No." He was like, "I was always told that if I don't want the answer, or I can't handle the answer, I'm not gonna ask." And so I think that was a point of him, because he wants to know regardless. I mean, every person, I'm not gonna say that you really want to know, but deep down inside it's like, did she really kick it with my boy?
You want that peace in your heart.
Exactly. Can I take her serious? It's because that's the only reason why that he was even irritated is because stuff like that festers because they wasn't communicating. They were communicating through sex and, you know, him downloading his software on her and vice versa. Because, you know, sex isn't just a contact thing. It's just like wireless Bluetooth, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I see what you're saying. Did you know, I was trying to figure out why, for that phrase, men are from Mars, women are from Venus, why they use those specific planets. We know the world is into astrology and all that. And so I wanted to know specifically why they chose those planets. And I learned that Mars is associated with action, libido, assertion, and aggression, which are characteristics that align more with men, whereas Venus is the planet of love, beauty, harmony, seduction, and aesthetic taste. And those traits are more aligned with women.
Exactly.
And so it makes sense because saying this really, it's so funny how everything comes back full circle, in my opinion, because this saying really emphasizes our differences. And since we already explained, you know, why they use these specific planets to describe men and women, I'm also seeing that they used different planets at all, saying, you know, men and women are from different planets. That means we're completely different species of people, which is funny because that's showing that the human population believes as a collective that we are different.
That's a very good point.
Without even trying, they have admitted to that.
Yeah.
And so with narratives like this, ideally, you sort of understand that men and women are different from each other. And therefore, we can have a lot of trouble relating to each other or understanding the needs of one another, which is exactly what you were saying with Darius and Nina and how they were trying to relate to each other. But the communication and understanding wasn't there. And so it wasn't happening. Because honestly, I'd probably be like Nina. I would want Darius to know that I didn't do anything with Wood.
Exactly.
But he doesn't want to know. So that confuses me in my mind, right? Because as a woman, we essentially want to know everything. Whereas I even know that with you, if you don't want to know, you're not going to ask.
Yeah.
And that's point blank, period. And I actually became like that more so over the years, but that was not my default setting as a woman. I had to grow into that because I realized I would continue to hurt my own feelings doing that. Stalking Instagram and Twitter pages and trying to check for people and everything, I would be continuously hurting myself. Whereas with men that I've met, including you guys don't really get into all of that because it sounds like now that you're just trying to protect your heart and guard your heart and protect your feelings. Does that kind of sound like a little right?
No, I think you hit the nail right on the head. So with Darius, he is trying to protect himself, but he's fighting the inevitable, you know, because it's going to come to a point to where they got to talk about that. And so I think there may be also wisdom in, you know, him trying to wait, but hey, when it happened and it was supposed to happen. And I think that's where relationships have to just allow that space so that you can be able to have that open communication and that dialogue about whatever is bothering you. Because it was clear and it was very heavy in that room, just like a lot of us, if we're feeling some type of way, you don't have to say much in order to feel that there is unease in the room. It doesn't take that much. It was just how Nina was smoking that cigarette. She wasn't smoking at first. I don't think people just actually kind of peeped that out. At the beginning, she wasn't smoking, but she started smoking because of Darius actually is a smoker. And then, you know, it was just like little things. When they went out, she started wearing hats and cocking her hat. Her hat, yeah.
I didn't even notice that. You know what's funny? I was wondering why she had that hat on and why she was cocking it back like that. Because I was like, does she do that? Like, I only saw her wear a hat like one time.
Exactly.
And then smoking too, right? She started picking up cigarettes. And I was like, oh, why is she doing that? She was being kind of influenced.
Exactly. And naturally, women are a reflection of the man as well.
That's true.
So if you're a disrespectful person, you're going to have a disrespectful, woman.
Yeah.
And like, she's going to pick up on those little things because naturally you were, or women were created to be a helpmate, a submissive. Yeah, exactly, yeah. But yeah.
No, yeah, I completely agree with that. I even find myself sometimes like saying things you would say or even moving the way you would move because I'm around you so much and I pay that much attention and I'm absorbing everything because naturally I'm a receiver. And so
Yes.
when I'm with you, I'm doing nothing but absorbing your essence all day. And so I take that and I essentially make it my own, but it's still a reflection of the way I am when I'm with you.
Exactly. I mean, if you just think about it, hey, God put Adam asleep and took a rib from him and then created woman.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
So that's why I always said that women are also a reflection or a extension of the man. And so, yeah, just in that little context right there, that's a very powerful, thing. And if we don't pay attention to how we're dealing with our women, how we're loving you all, how we are giving you the things to nurture and cultivate the relationship and also yourself and also giving you that, space to, be who you are as well. That's when you will see, I would say, great things start to happen.
That is so true. With those differences in the way that Darius and Nina communicate in Love Jones, the way they communicate and then respond to each other, relate to each other, and all that, right? Would you say that stems a lot from maybe their differing love languages?
Yeah, it's really depending on also what they would consider what is their love language. So you got acts of service.
You have acts of service, words
Gifts.
of affirmation, gifts. That's 3. Physical touch, quality time.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, because I mean, think about it. If we're already different in our essence as men and women,
Exactly.
we're going to be different on an individual level too, which means that essentially the way we enjoy being loved is also going to be different. And so it sounds to me that throughout the course of Darius and Nina's relationship in Love Jones, they had different love languages and they didn't discover that until the very end of the movie. And maybe end of their relationship too at multiple points in the movie as well. They realized they had similar love languages, like, words. They obviously both have a affinity for words because that's kind of how they got connected in the first place. The poem that Darius read to Nina was how she became interested in the first place.
And I'm gonna say photos too.
Photos.
Yeah, because and she was. Do you remember when she was like, when she had the camera, she was like, "Take off your clothes. I already seen what you got." And so, the reason why I brought that up is because it was a time when they were not seeing each other that he went back and looked at those photos. Remember? Do you remember?
Yeah.
Exactly.
That is true.
So that ultimately was the thing that also may have brought them back together too. It was that connection in the artistic realm that was like, hey, this might be my person.
That's so funny. With love languages, so in their case, right, it was Nina who first picked up the camera and said to him, take off your clothes. I already seen what you got.
Yeah.
And then later on in the movie, when they're in the middle of an argument, he picks up the camera and he's like, take off your clothes. I already seen what
That's
you got.
some stuff that I do.
Because he was trying to be petty.
Yeah.
And what's funny is the thing with love languages is, right, like, for example, my love language is physical touch.
So you like to be touched a lot.
Well, I like, yeah. So holding hands and, me putting a head on your shoulder, things like that. Like, it's really intimate and sweet to me. But when I'm upset, it's like I like to withhold that. I like saying, don't touch me.
Okay, I can see that.
You know what I mean? And so to me, it sounds like Darius in Love Jones was kind of using that against Nina because she was getting annoyed with that, even though she did it in the very beginning.
And you know what? That's very interesting that you said that. So what I do is actually kind of similar to what you do. So I like to communicate and express myself no matter what, right?
With words?
Yeah, exactly. But when I'm upset, I don't want to talk.
You quiet.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm good.
True.
I'm good. All right, I'm real dry. All right, bye. All right,
and that's how I know you're upset.
Yeah.
And you always know when I'm upset because I'll say, like, don't touch me. Like, no, I'm going to be over here. And that's when you want to irritate me more. Similar to Darius. That's the same thing. He wanted to irritate Nina in that moment.
We're having a lot moments right now.
Eureka.
Yeah.
Facts. And so it's funny with love languages because you want to withhold that love language from that person whenever you're feeling like you need to withhold it. Because like you're either upset or maybe you're not feeling the love, right? And so that I try not to do that with myself because love is action, not a feeling. And I don't want to withhold love because I'm not feeling the love, Mm-hmm. So I wouldn't want anyone doing that to me. So I try not to do that when I'm upset. But we do it naturally because love is the thing that we all have in our hearts regardless, right? Mm-hmm. And so we express that innately. And so when we're not feeling the love, we want to take it back.
Of course.
Yeah. Yeah. And so that's a lot.
See, in that, statement, it's actually a powerful statement that actually leads right back into God. So, and that's how much that we also need God as well. So, even when we mess up, God still loves us.
Wow.
And we know how love is. Love is ever growing and it's never changing.
It conquers all.
Exactly. And that's the type of love that
covers
God,
all.
Exactly. That's the type of love that God has for us. No matter what we do, in many cases, he still loves us. He still cares for us. He still gives us grace.
Wow.
Grace to actually mess up. And also grace to get ourselves together. Grace, traveling grace. Or just whatever, just grace for you just being human. And just existing in this world so that you can come back to the most authentic love that you can actually have. And so that's something that Love Jones, I'm not going to say was missing because the movie doesn't have to be about what we wanted it to be about.
Yes.
But the thing is, the whole purpose of the review is they're missing the fundamental, the person who actually created love, And so when we understand from the creator that how he actually created love to be is supposed to be in his image and likeness. And so we learn how to deal with our significant others, our brothers, our sisters, our friends, or even strangers, or even our enemies that actually may affect us to some degree, and learning how to deal with them in love.
Wow.
and also with love. And so that those principles that God has given us through Jesus and the Word is something that everyone can actually benefit from. Like, if we continue on the path that we are going right now, we're going to only see things get worse and worse. So you got people that are happy about misusing their body. It's because God talks about us being his peculiar people, meaning like, hey, we're separate and we're precious. And so those things can actually affect us in how we view ourselves and how we value other people. And so just in that whole little summary, I say take that and kind of, just definitely simmer on that, so.
Absolutely. I think you said it all. Wow. Yeah, I need to sit with that one. But that's so true, though. I mean, Jesus has showed us so much just living his life on earth, right? And the way we are supposed to be loving each other and giving you said grace a lot, and I like that because that's exactly essentially what was missing from Darius and Nina's relationship, was that grace that they could have if they would have put God at the center of their relationship, because they would have remembered that grace is the most fundamental thing you can have when it comes to these disputes and arguments that they were having with each other. And by extending that grace to each other, they could have probably resolved a lot quicker and not have had as many issues as they had in the beginning, because that's a lot of what even the world is missing right now when it comes to relating to each other. And Jesus has already showed us the way when it comes to that. But because we're not putting Jesus at the center anymore, we don't know what that looks like. And we don't even know if that's necessary, which it is, but we don't even know if that's necessary, right?
Yeah, we're going off of TikTok. We're going off of people who don't even have no foundation in nothing, not even just good character. We're listening to, and we're consuming, I'm not even saying listening, we're consuming media at such a high rate to where it has metastasized into what we see today. Everything is quick. Everything is, I want things to serve me. Ooh. And, and me not give, anything of, substance back. And so if you don't see it right now, right in front of us, we see people who are posting things that are unbecoming of a person that's in a relationship. Like, hey, I'm happy I cheated on this person, and it's the most ignorant stuff that I've seen. And I'm actually 33 and I got an old soul, and so a lot of times it's really, really important that for us to learn from our mistakes, but also some of the older generation mistakes, so we can end up creating a better future. Because I'm quite sure where we headed right now, it ain't good.
Ooh, that is so true. That is so true. When you have God at the center of everything, you have so many tools at your disposal. One of those tools is discernment, right? That includes watching out for people in your circle who are plotting on your downfall. And we're going to talk about that when we get back.